Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Love Your Vibe. And it's been a bit of time. It's been a bit of time since we last connected. But as always, super happy to be here. Super happy that you're joining me today. And here's why. Because today is going to be um, an opportunity to expand and expunge upon something so amazing that it's important for every soul that walks this earth, right? It's important for every soul that walks this earth to understand how significant it is for their souls to awaken. Now, so when we think about a soul awakening, right? The first thing we really have to understand, the first thing that I have to understand is that if your soul is not ready, it's not going to happen. It's not necessarily going to unfold in this lifetime. It can, but it doesn't already necessarily will unfold. And so for us, we'll know because there will be symptoms that we'll experience, right? I'll give you an idea. When I began to awaken, when my soul began to awaken, all of a sudden, all the stuff that used to give me joy, that used to give me excitement, that used to give me a rise, no longer did that. All of a sudden, they started to feel like an illusion. They started to feel like something that just wasn't right, something that just wasn't, correct, so to speak. And so, I found myself in a place of wondering, like, why isn't this having the same effect as it used to? Another symptom. My soul signature and soul vibration is compassion and kindness. It came in like an avalanche of experiencing so much love, compassion, and kindness, right? Which are basically all the same thing, but it was an avalanche. And everywhere I went, I felt that for every single person because I knew that we're all one. We're all one universal spirit. We're all connected through this ever-present, empowering, like universal love. And I just knew that inherently, and by inherently, it was there, and not only was it for human beings, but it was for animals. It was for, creatures, any living thing I felt that for, right? And then last but not least, there came a disgust. And the reason I say disgust is because when you begin to realize how corrupt the system is, and it's no coincidence I stumbled upon The Matrix, which is an amazing movie. I stumbled upon The Matrix and really started to dive into like the symbolic meanings of it, and it just struck me that, like, the economy in itself is so jacked up because it's built on debt, right? So what has to happen, and then this is just kind of giving it to you in a nutshell, what has to happen is we, as the people, the 7.5 billion people on Earth, or 7.6, however many there is, have to consume in order to support the economy. So what does that mean? That means that we're bombarded with advertisements. We're bombarded with commercials. We're bombarded with stuff telling us that we're not enough, that we need so much from these things that we see on TV, that we need so much from these things we see on magazine and now online. I mean, why do you think you see so many ads on Facebook, on Instagram? It's always somebody telling you what you don't have and what you need. When in actuality, when your soul awakens, when you wake up from that sleepwalk, as we put in the title, you realize you have everything. And this was the most valuable asset for me from my soul, to realize that as a soul having a human experience, I have exactly everything that I need and desire within myself. Okay? When you come to that realization, all of a sudden the script is flipped. You don't need stuff. I go to the mall nowadays. When I was in the mall, I used to just die to buy all kinds of different pairs of shoes and clothes. And then I would get home and wonder why all of a sudden it kind of wore off the desire to have those things. It just kind of didn't really make sense to me anymore. But now it's once I figured out that my soul was all that I needed, my soul, the ability to just let my soul come to the forefront and let my ego come to the backdrop, all of a sudden, things changed, I'm excited, I'm happy, I'm full of joy as long as my basic needs are met, right? And I have this urge to create, I have this urge to create. What's amazing is sexually, the desire, because sexual energy and creative energy are kind of the same, has just been through the roof, because now I'm getting back to who I am, not who somebody says that I have to be. All right? And so once again, the most important thing is to realize if you're not understanding what I'm talking about, that's completely fine, because your soul has encoded within itself when it's going to awake from the sleep. And you hear me about the sleep, and basically all it comes down to is just being caught up in the illusion. Being caught up in the illusion that you need stuff to validate who you are. Being caught up in the illusion that you need approval. Being caught up in the illusion that you need to get somewhere in life to prove that you are worthy. And I'm here to tell you, you're already worthy. The fact that you are a soul, first and foremost, proves that you are worthy. And once you really inherently know that, when you understand that that is your truth, it frees you from everything that's ever held you back. Okay? It frees you from it. Take my own life, for example. For the longest time, it was the hardest thing to follow my soul, because I was always after money. I was always after wanting approval from whoever it may be. I was always after the idea that I had to be something in the eyes of everybody else. And I was completely caught up in the matrix. And one of the most amazing things my soul always did to let me know that I was caught up, and I didn't realize it until a couple years ago recently, but what it did is it created so much discomfort within, discomfort to the place where if I wasn't going to die, I was going to kill everybody in the place that I was at. Not really, but it felt that way, because I just hated where I was at that time. And that was my soul expressing its disgust for what I was doing, and looking back on it, I realize it now. And I'm happy because I can share it with you to help you to realize if you start to feel uneasy, if you start to feel oh man, this just isn't working, it's your soul telling you you need to be somewhere else. And here's how I know. Every time I've done something that is in complete congruence and alignment with my soul's wanting, or I know a better word to use is my soul's desire. Every time I've done something, things have been so easy, right? But if I stay too long, all of a sudden you realize that it starts to fall apart, because the soul is not there. The soul is not there to identify with that thing. It's there to learn a lesson, to gain wisdom for the human container, which is you, in order for you to progress, right? So case in point, for me, the biggest struggle was as soon as my soul led me to do something, I became identified with that thing. So I started out being an athlete, and all of a sudden I couldn't get out of being an athlete until finally my soul just sent me through the darkest experience you could possibly think of, until I realized, okay, I'm not to identify with that anymore. You know, then it happened with being an actor, you know, and so identifying with that and just wanting to identify when my soul is saying, look, it's time to move on to the next thing. You know, we'll come back to this, but now it's time to move on to the next thing because it's about the lessons. It's about you understanding the truth of who you are, not being tied into these things, you know. And it happened again with being a fitness professional, you know, and so many things. I look back on my life and I'm so happy. Like I can laugh about it and have compassion on myself because I knew that the soul was only doing those things to help me to get to where I am today. And that's understanding that the soul comes first. We are an eternal soul first, having a human experience. Okay. And we're not our jobs. We're not the things we want our parents to see us as. We're not the things that we have wanted to be able to have approval from somebody else. It's time to wake up from that soul sleep, you know, because it's never going to give you the joy, the love, the harmony, the excitement, that understanding your true nature, your soul nature will when you get to that point. I promise you, when you experience this, because when I experienced this, I had so much peace. I had so much peace because you know what? Everything that I thought was security just kind of fell to the wayside. All this time, like, I'm thinking of how I'm going to make all this money and such and such. And, you know, money is one of the most important aspects to look at because we predicate our lives on cash, right? And I know because I've done it. I've been there. This is a learning lesson for me too. We think that the more money we have, the better we can live our lives, but it's just not the truth. And another thing is, when you really look at money, money was created to create separation between people. It was created to keep the wealthy class from the impoverished people. And so when you look at the banks, when you look at like the credit cards and the cars and anything run by the banks is a complete lopsided scam as far as the interest goes. The fact that they're getting that much interest per day is basically robbery, and we're agreeing to that robbery when we get caught up in that system of debt. Okay, so it's not something to get upset about, but it is something to recognize and to really take a hard look at and see, okay, like, you know what? Why am I feeding this system, right? Why am I really feeding this system? And when you start to dive deep, layers start to get peeled off and you start to discover the truth. Because the truth is embedded within you. It's not anywhere else outside. It's embedded within you. And when you start to do that, getting back to the whole money thing, you realize your soul is so much more important than any amount of money that you could ever amass, right? You know that quote says, what good is it to gain the world and lose your soul in the process? So many people do that. So many people fall victim to that because they think that money will answer all of their problems. Jim Carrey, one of my favorites. Love him so much because at the height of his success, here's a man who basically became awakened at a time when he had absolutely everything. And before he awakened to the truth of who he is, which is a soul just like you and me, he felt so lost and so upset. And you know, you're thinking like, well, this guy, and I read like he bought his entire management team, 10 people, Ferraris. That's like $200,000+ cars. He bought for all of them. You know, he had the house. He had, you know, the beautiful actress as a wife. You know, he had all these things on the outside that you think will make you happy. And he was so just broken on the inside because he wasn't living his truth, his inner truth, his soul's truth. And that's what it comes down to. Once he discovered that, you can see every time he does an interview, he's smiling all the time. He's at peace. He knows, like, what his life is about and what he's been put on this earth to do. And that becomes the real joy. It's not that you have to quit what you're doing, but you have to align to what your soul wants. And if everything falls away at that point, then so be it. Right? Because for us, if we're not following our soul, if we're not awaking from that soul sleep, life is going to be a struggle. Life is going to be a hard struggle. And, you can make people think that you're doing well when in actuality, I can tell you, you're not doing well if you're not following the lead of your soul essence, right? If your soul is not taking the lead in your life, you're not going to have that joy that sustains over a long period of time. It may come for a little bit. You may get some stuff, but all of a sudden you'll get back to feeling. You get caught in that labyrinth, and that's what the matrix is going around in circles doing the same thing. That was one of my biggest things that I had to recognize, is that I was going around this pattern doing the same thing with different stuff until I stopped and I'm like, hold on, I'm on a hamster wheel. And I'm just doing it with different areas of things, thinking that once I reach a certain level of success, I'm going to arrive. I'm going to be approved. I'm going to be great in the eyes of everybody else. Bullshit. It's all bullshit, right? It's all bullshit, because ultimately the only way that comes when you understand there is no getting stuff. There is no achievement. There is no ambition. All that's an illusion, right? You're meant to be first, and then you're meant to create, co-create with the soul, which is the God in you. And then from there, you experience the joy. And from there, you're no longer attached to the things that you feel like you need to be justified. And guess what? They all show up. They all show up because you're no longer attached to them. You're no longer in this place where I need the money. I need the job. I need the role. I need the wife. I need the husband. I need the house. I need the car. All of this I need. When I say I need, I'm basically saying I want. You lose it all because it doesn't profit you anything anymore. It just doesn't. And you come to the realization of what's truly real, and that lies within you, ladies and gentlemen. It's time. It's time to wake up. And I say that because if you can feel this message on the inside, if you can feel what I'm truly saying, that means that your soul is looking to power itself to the forefront of your life. Allow it. Help it. Sit in silence. Sit in meditation. Let it do it. Let it do its thing. And just enjoy the joy from that point on. Thank you so much, guys, for joining me. It is an absolute pleasure. Take care. We'll talk soon.